Hey Woozot, it's Dani. Welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be talking about what I used, did, saw, read in August. I used to do monthly recaps and then I was like, oh, this is boring. But then I'm like saving up all this, the books that I read or whatever until like mid-year and end of year. And sometimes I forget by then and I'm like, whatever. So regardless, I don't know if I'm going to do this every month, but like this month I felt like, hey, let's do a catch up, talk about, all the things that has been going on end of July and all of August. Why not? Why not? If I remember, I'll put timestamps down below. But I'll kind of go in the order that I said, kind of like what I used, what I did, what I watched, what I read. I'll kind of go in that order. How about that? So if you want to search and find, look, I got my little cafe in my new mug. So if you guys watch my little vlog, y'all seen I'm cracking my mug. My favorite Halloween mug. I'm like trying to pull that fall into the air. And I managed to break it pretty good. Like I couldn't even like put it back together to like use it as something else. It was done. So I got that and I'm excited about it. So let's start with tarot and oracle and what I've been using. So again, I've been keeping it relatively simple. I always have my Mystic Masters on my desk, my Petite Fille playing cards. Those have just been staples all year long, just kind of hanging around. But this past month, for sure, has been kind of steeped in these. So I grabbed the book because I can never remember what this edition is called, but it's like the Antique Anatomy, but it's called the Modern Tarot Reader, the one that I got, but it's the Antique Anatomy deck for me. I've been using this a lot this month, especially with the Memento Mori, which is in this little bag. I got a big chunk of this. Check this out. I'll tell you which ones I got because I never remember. Like, it's huge comparison. Tarot deck and this. Look at that. So this is the Memento Mori. I have the regular Lenormand and Oracle deck. Okay. Then I have the Folk Magic expansion, and then I got the general expansion. Comes out like that. Oh, come on now. There you go. That one. So she big, she thick. But I've been using these a lot together, and I've been using this Memento Mori with the Trionfi della Luna. I've been using the illustrated pips version the most, although I did have my Marseille up here like last week or so, but like sticking in that Trionfi della Luna vibe. I even used my Deviant Moon for some readings the other day, but my main focus has been on Trionfi della Luna. I don't know, I just been steeped in these vibes lately. I absolutely adore this deck. I almost flung this everywhere, but anyway. If you hear something, my husband is washing vehicles and I'm just I don't think you can, but like all of a sudden it's just like, wee. I'm like, What is happening? Vacuum cleaners. So, Triumphi della Luna, I've been doing a lot of my own readings with, and like playing with that and the Zammer Oracle, the Zammer Twins Oracle. I'm just into these strange, like, I'm into these strange vibes right now. Like, I just want something slightly off kilter, a little unexpected, or even something quite absurd. Because I've been noticing that as well. Like, not only I've been using have had that surreal vibe to them, and like even the things I've been watching, I guess, and reading too, but like I always read kind of stuff that's kind of strange and surreal, but it seems like everything has been like that lately. That's been like the trope of August. Because in here, this little bag, now listen, I'm stretching it to its limit because I have a bunch of stuff in here, but I got this from Krista's shop, which is Crochet Witches Wares, I think. Regardless, I'm going to have it linked. I'm so sorry. I can never remember any names of anything. But anyway, I love this little bag because it fits everything I need. Nice and neat. I have a bunch of stuff in here, including this is the back side, the Hieronymus Bosch. This is the Lo Scarabeo. It's not his actual art. This is based on, oh, God dog it. Y'all know I've been using it. Not a card the right way in sight. Matter of fact, with my Mystic fam, we were doing readings with this. I did these like wall readings, which was really, really cool. I really enjoyed working with not only this deck because it was pretty cool, but like with this little spread where I kind of created a wall of like 4 cards or however many you want, and then flip one on the top to have that as the kind of what's beyond the wall, and then like do a whole reading to see if, are we trying to get there, are we trying to not. It was a really cool exercise and a really a great way to play not only with this deck, but also kind of pairing things together and using, I think I even used the Triumphi and the Zammer to kind of play with that as well. But those were really fun spreads to do. So I enjoyed doing that. But the reason I have this one tucked away in here with all this other stuff is because I have just started at the end of August looking into and messing with some solo RPG. I've never done any kind of RPG gameplay at all. So it's not something that I'm super familiar with, but I recently started doing one called The Village Witch, and I am having a whole ass blast. Just writing in my little journal. I didn't go extra and make like all kinds of shit for this because I thought about it and then I was like, stop it. So I literally just got a 1 subject notebook. It was on sale for 35 cents. And I said, look, I'm just going to get this and I'm going to use this old school book to paper. I mean, like pen to paper. So I have all my little notes and journal entries and stories for my Village Witch. I'm just starting, but I'm having a blast so far. And I'm pretty sure I'm thinking way too far out of the box. Maybe because I haven't done this before, so I'm just legit playing. Every question they ask, I'm like, ooh, how can I like roll for this? Or what do I look for in here? And let me search online about this. And so I've been doing a lot of that. And like I said, I haven't gotten far. I just really started, but I've been using the Haranos Bosch with that, as well as the Woodland Wardens. There were questions about animals or plants or this, that, and the other. And so I was like, what could I use? And one of the options was like, is your house haunted or does an animal come to visit? And so like I rolled like even odd to see like which one. Again, I'm just gonna roll to see. I don't know. So it was like an animal friend. So then I shuffled and I chose a card and I saw which one and where they were and things like that, because like with these you get like an animal and a plant. So it was really cool to use with that. So I've been using that as well as my here's the bags. It's in an organza bag. I'm not gonna take it all out. Y'all have seen the Hedge Witch Botanical before. I use it all the time. So I have that one for some plants as well as, you know, other stuff. And then I have the Antiquities of Magic Oracle. I always have a hard time reading the name up here. My eyes just can't focus on the font very well. So I think it's Antiquities of Magic, for like some tools and stuff like that. So I've used this little chunk to play my game thus far. But because I'm just like figuring this out and playing and experimenting, who knows where that'll take me. But right now, these are the ones that I'm using, and I'm starting to do journaling in there, and it's just hand scratch and imagination, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it so much. It's just a way to do something that is not like I don't have to tie it to anything else, right? It's not part of my job. It's not part of anything. It's just a little mind cleanse, and I absolutely love it. So anyway, so I've been toting my my stuff around in here, and doing some writing and journaling and playing that little solo RPG. And then I guess that takes us into, that's kind of what I've been using, like as far as tools. I did do a lot of stuff with my altar this month. I made a jar, so I put that and set up a bunch of stuff here in my journal. So like I have some extra rosary stuff here because I've been doing a lot of stuff in Cajun French, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So I've been really honed in on trying to speak it as much as possible every day, you know, for me and within my practice. And so I've been doing a lot of the stuff with the rosary because I do that fully in French. So I've been messing with that a lot. Did some other stuff in this journal. Yeah. So I have my little jar, all that kind of set up into here. I'm almost done. I'm almost done with this bad boy. I'm in my last signature right now. So this is steadily filling up fast, and I have quite a few other things that are kind of set on the side. So we'll see how far I get with that in September. So that's what I've been doing in my personal journaling. That game, adding stuff in here, that's been about it as far as like personal journaling. We did, of course, have our maps and some not magic in the Mystic Fam that we added to our Fill Your Journal series, which we're getting close to being halfway, I think. Halfway through of this Fill Your Journal. So I'm really excited about that. Hoping to do some more on that. But yeah, I think maybe 1 page. And then I think most of my other efforts have been in my other journals that I made, which I'll show you in just a sec. Let me take a sip and grab them. Okay, so I have a few that are finished. I think only this one is up in the shop right now. But I have a few to show you guys. So I finished up these. I'm really loving paper bag journals right now. So I did them. They're a little bit more, oh, this has a lot of stuff kind of stacked in it. But I have been absolutely loving the size, and these are the stamp, like one of the stamps that I carved out. Now I did this a couple months ago, but I do have some other stamps that I've been doing that I'm gonna show you guys. But that's been super fun because I've been not only doing journals, but carving out little stamps and playing around with that as well. So that's been fun. I went thrifting and got some new books. So I have a lot of vintage stuff in here. And like, I find little by little, some of my aesthetic has been changing as I'm doing, check this out. This is my favorite part of the whole book. I love it so much. But my aesthetics have been kind of like moving and shifting and changing. And that happens with every book that I make because I put so much intention behind each one, and I focus on one. And just like how it makes me feel and what works with it. And I don't know. But anyway, I've been going a lot more towards like kind of a mismatch, vintage, almost kind of grungy vibes. And then I add all kinds of stuff. But anyway, look at these. I've just been having so much fun with these little paper ones. But then I was able to complete, I think I showed you guys when I started this one, but it is now complete. This was an experiment as well as a kind of a very magical intention for creativity. And I just have a lot of, like, I just kind of really experimented in this one with like different folds and different techniques. This is one that it is a full non-sewn binding that worked and didn't work at the same time. But a lot of the stuff in here is just like things that I've put together or made. This kind of opens up. So it's got sewn edges and buttons and bits and bobs. I really played around a lot in this particular journal. You can see there's a lot of fabrics and tabs in here. These folded little pockets. Like we have this up here that I made. So that slips in here. Just like bunches of little pockets and tuck spots. Stampings and all kinds of cool stuff. I just had an absolute blast creating this and just kind of going wild with it. This one I made a lot of, look dead Bobbin. That's what that says. Look dead Bobbin. Little tabs, pull-outs you can write on, little notebooks. This one, I don't know. See, I have all kinds of little... This one, I don't know what I'm going to do with it just yet. see, a lot of my, like, I've been adding a lot of paint to my pages themselves and just like doing a lot of like ripped page collages and stamps and all kinds of stuff like that. I even wrote a poem and made a path with it. This is some textured paste. So I really did experiment with so much in here, but like, I don't know if I want to keep this as my own. I don't know. I really love it. And like I said, like, I don't know if I want to just like keep it and like for like flip throughs and like, what have I done? What kind of examples, you know, because I did kind of set out for this to be exactly what it was, which is just experimenting and doing as much as I, you know, dared to do on these pages and just see what would happen. And, you know, I really enjoyed it. But like I said, like, I don't know if I want to use it personally or if I'm willing to let it go. I don't know. So I'm holding on to this for now because I don't know exactly what I want to do. I don't know, but it's been fun and that one's completed. So the other ones that I'm doing, I think I want to put together a set of these because I do have quite a few. And I've been making ephemera sets specifically for these because like I had an idea set in my mind of how I wanted these to go and like what kind of things I wanted to play off of on some of them. So I've been kind of adding and playing around with ephemera sets. I've done some that are specific to color. So ephemera sets as in like this blue is part of it. So some of it is just like textures. Some of it is are images. Some are like tabs. So like this is from, so it's like a bunch of different ephemera. So I've done this one. I wanted a blue pattern. So I wanted anything blue. I just wanted all the things. So I've done blue and red and green. Blue, red, green. I think those are the colors that I have. And then I've done a vintage one. One that's kind of like a Rococo style, which, because I want to do one of these kind of with the vibes of my pear tree court, but more like fancy. I love that Rococo style where it's like very opulent. And anyway, so I did one like that, a Renaissance one, which is actually all images from the 1500s. Including the textures. Like, I'm such a nerd. I'm such a nerd. These are like I've used some of the textures are like actual pieces of fabric from the 1500s and things like that. Like, I'm such a nerd. Like, I geeked out. I was like, I want this and I want this and I want this. And so I had a lot of fun making that one. And then I also did one that's in I did a Renaissance style, a Rococo style, and then a vintage right now. Those are my 6 that I have up so far. And I have a couple more that I'm like thinking about and working on. I don't know if I'm going to use them all or if I'm going to mix and match. But I've been playing a lot with that kind of ephemera because my style is like, I'm into the paper bag, full kind of messy style and making these, which are hidden spine. I have 5 signatures in here, and it's like a whole new binding that I've been doing specifically for these books because I'm obsessed with the look of it and like the way that it feels in the hand. Just like those are smaller, these have such a firm grip. So I made the blue one anyway. And I did all kinds of fun stuff in here as well. A lot of fun different pages and pieces. These are some of them, like, this side, my ephemera sets. and things that I made myself. So it's a lot of stuff kind of tucked in here. Fabrics, like fabric pieces and staples. There's textures everywhere. But I just loved this blue pattern idea, and I just kind of went wild on the blues. I have stuff kind of tucked in. Pages that are just like hand painted, or just like painted backgrounds that I've done myself. Some cool pockets. I've just had a blast. Made little bookmarks that I've tucked in here. Old vintage. I think this is for pickling. There's like ketchups and hot sauces and fun recipes and stuff in there. Things that are just kind of put together. And these are all set within this book. All kind of together. So I love the look of this. I like the feel of this, and it's got great room. It sits well. You can see this one's almost done, and it's not overdone. Right now it's still here. This is a vintage one that I'm doing because I love the play off of these colors. Like these browns and stuff. I found some see, this is part of the ephemera. It looks like a quilt. It's like part of a quilt. I have some old like magazine things and images. I love this. This is kind of caught, but yeah. So I'm almost done with this one. Love the butterfly. It is, I love this. I love these yellows. I'm like obsessed with it right now. I think I'm about right here. So this one should be done this week. So these will probably start, and then I'll do a cover in the same way that I did the blue one. So it'll have something, I think this one says, it's going to say be brave on it. This one says make it count. Make it count on the front. So this one's going to have something similar for these two, and then I will move on. I have quite a few. So I'm loving the style of these, and then I'm just kind of playing around with whatever I'm feeling with these covers is kind of the ephemera that I'm making, to kind of go with it, along with, all the recycled stuff that I have in here, which takes up the majority of it. It's mostly recycled book pages and things like that, but it's fun to have, hand-picked ephemera for some of these. And I've been absolutely loving making my own papers, and I've been making my own tape. So what I've been doing is taking masking tape and then putting it in strip rows. Look, I'll show you. I have something right here. So I'll put a bunch of masking tape, and then whatever style I'm going for in whatever book that I'm working in, I will do some really kind of scratchy writing and then layer it and kind of make its own custom tape. And so I have that kind of sprinkled throughout, or any ones that I want to like put two pages together, I'll use tape to bind them, things like that. So I've been making a lot of my own papers and tapes and things like that out of my recycled materials. So I'm like shifting in my aesthetic as far as like how I'm doing my journals, but I feel like I'm getting more in tune with my own artistic style. Okay, so the only other thing that I've really been doing, aside from, normal shit, is, like I said, I've been carving some stamps. I've done a bit of carving before, like when I did Pear Tree Court, I created the stamp that I had the bags on that I was using for my first round. I had hand carved that stamp. So I had that one. I had a cauldron. I played with it before. I'd made like a little thistle out of an eraser. I'd carved that. But I got some lino cut, and I've been playing around with this July, August, carving out some crawfish, a little fleur-de-lis, which I've been using for my journals. Little fish that I've been like, you can do it whatever way you want. I've been doing it in a line, just playing around with that. A little letter. Sorry. Seeing my frizzy ass hair. And then I made an Acadian flag. Mostly for a big stamp. Let me see. I think I have it. Oh, right here. I can show you how that came out. I wanted just like a print. So I could, I'm having trouble getting the big chunks to be consistent. Like, these came out pretty good, but I've been having trouble keeping them like consistent. Oh, you can see this is where some of them kind of came out. These were ideas, but I did some. These are my pomegranates. Like I said, I made that one a while back, but I had an idea for some stuff and I was sketching it out. So that's kind of basically what I've been doing as far as that goes, is like playing around with stamps, playing around with those ideas, trying to figure out consistency, because I'm still very new at it. And I love to carve. It's so much fun. My hands don't always like it, but I like it. Anyway, let's move on. So that's what I've been using. That's what I've been doing. Now, what have I been watching? Because I normally don't watch a whole lot of stuff, but over August, I have. Okay, so I have my little notebook that I have it written down. So like I said, I have watched a lot of surreal kind of horror. Most of it is horror. I mean, do you expect anything less? I don't know what to say. I have a type. But a lot of stuff has been very surreal, like more so than I'm used to. I mean, horror is a whole genre within itself and has so many nooks and crannies, but these have been, I don't know, they've been so good. Like, I really wanted to share these because they've been some of the best that I've seen in a while. So the first one is In My Mother's Skin. So this is set in the Philippines. There is a very isolated feel to this because you are following this little family that's in the middle of the jungle, basically. There's like a really like a one way in, one way out kind of vibe. There's like a single road and then there's this forest. But In My Mother's Skin, you are confronted with this kind of fae vibe where this little girl is speaking with this fae creature, or finding this fae creature in the woods. And it's one of those like, be careful what you wish for. It doesn't always work out in your favor. Typical fae vibes, right? But the surrealism and the sometimes like shocking, I say shocking because it's so blunt and kind of in your face, I guess. Like, I'm trying to like recall all the different, bits and pieces of like horror, right? Where it's violent, and I don't want to say it's unexpected. You are expecting it, but it is quite violent. And so it really held my attention. This is, like I said, this is a foreign film. Did I say that? It's set in the Philippines, but it is a foreign film. I watch a lot of foreign horror because I like the vibes. Anyway, but it kept my attention the entire time. you can definitely get lost in the story, the way that it is done and the way that it is. I don't know. It's like you are kind of pulled into that Fae vibe. I loved it. So In My Mother's Skin was really good. And then I was able to watch Nosferatu. I wanted to go see this in theaters so bad, but nobody likes movies like that. For me, in my group of people. So I didn't go watch Nosferatu in the theater. So I did manage to watch it this month, and honestly, it did not disappoint. Here's the thing: I wanted the experience. I knew it was going to be a visual. Like, it was going to be about the visuals, right? And the setting and the scope of things. And that's kind of where I set my mind, and I was not disappointed. The story was okay. Some parts were infuriating. But all in all, I just really enjoyed being along for the ride. I don't think, people think it's one of the best films. It's one of this, like, story-wise, we've seen it. We know it. It's fine. But visually and the way that the story was told, I really enjoyed. But I love that feeling of foreboding throughout the film. And I really enjoy the gloomy setting for the most part. I really enjoy the gothic feels of it. That's what I'm there for. I'm there for the atmosphere, and I was not disappointed. I wasn't. I enjoyed it. So from there, speaking of vampires, right? So playing off of that, I watched, let me see if I can say this right. The Vourdalak. I'm going to be showing, or it's going to be anywhere, but I think it's called the Vourdalak. This is a French film. I low-key was obsessed with this film because it intrigued me. It was interesting. It was so surreal. It was weird. There was a ginormous, like, juxtaposition maybe in this world, because you had, again, the surrealism just takes over. This is a very surreal film because you had this, like, woodland setting. You're looking at about the 1700s-ish France. But you had this aristocrat walking around in this forest with this white paint on his face, his little mole set on there, his wig on, and his fancy clothes, and coming into this family who is just, like, living in these woods, plain-faced, typical vibes, until we meet the father, who is, I mean, I'm not spoiling anything. If you look it up, that's the first thing you're going to see about it, but it feels like a spoiler. But the father is this sort of Vourdalak, I can't say it, Vourdalak, which is a type of vampire, but he is a puppet. Like, it's like a puppet, like a wooden puppet. And it's so, I don't want to say shocking, but it's so unexpected. But it didn't take me out of what was happening. Like, it was fine that it was there. I think it's because of the way that it was done, the way that it moved. There was an eeriness to it, but, like, all the actors just kind of flowed with it. Like, it kept you in the story still, but it was so strange. And this kind of vampire is one that feeds off of its family, off of the people who they love, right? There's a love for them. If there's no love there, they don't really have an effect, I think, is the concept. Regardless, it was an interesting film to watch. There were so many instances of that juxtaposition, not only with that aristocrat coming in and like you're seeing all this, you even watch him put his makeup on at one point and you're just like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing at this point? Like, why? But he does. And it's just like, it's such a strange thing. And then you have this puppet and everyone else is just kind of playing off of it, but there's still this like strange vibe to it. It was unique and surreal, and I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I really did. It was odd. I enjoyed it. The other foreign film that I watched was, I want to say this one was, let me double check because I never freaking remember. It is Korean. Okay. I thought so. I was like, I'm pretty sure this is a Korean film, but I don't want to say it wrong. Okay. So The Wailing is another one that I watched. This film was so good. I laughed out loud. It was heart-wrenching. It was interesting. The plot was like there was this part where I'm just like, oh, I bet it's this. I bet it's this. I bet it's this. Like, it really kept me wondering and trying to figure out what was going on. So basically we have this town where we have this Japanese gentleman that moved in, and everyone's kind of really suspicious about this man. But then there's a shaman that's been around and all kinds of stuff has been happening. There's been this illness. People are kind of going crazy. I don't want to say it's zombie-like, but it's kind of zombie-like. But we're following this detective and his daughter gets sick. And everybody's trying to figure out what's going on in this small town. Who's to blame? Is it witchcraft? I guess you would say like witchcraft or magic or an infect. Like what? We don't know what's happening. And we kind of follow this, but it was so surprising because like, it was like laugh out loud funny. Like some parts really made me laugh out loud. It was like a cop comedy in some points. And other times it was like gut wrenching. When you have these like sentimental moments, I mean, you're looking at a father whose daughter is ill. So it's like, it pulls at your heartstrings. And then there are some parts that are quite horrific. As to like what's happened, very gruesome, I would say. None of these are scary. They just have gruesome aspects in them. If I would have to say if one of them was kind of scary, maybe In My Mother's Skin might have some, but I really do feel like these are more uncomfortable than they are like scary. They're uncomfortable. But The Wailing just had so much in it. It was a really good story. It brought you through a range of emotions and kept me really engaged. So I really love that. So the last one I saw, I was perusing YouTube. I was cooking or washing dishes or doing something in the house. And I was like, I want to put something on. So I'm flipping through YouTube and like, it's been popping up the movies lately. Like, oh, watch this with ads. Well, Jawbreaker pops up. When this first came out, I loved this movie so much because it had that like horror. It was funny. It was, it had like all the popular, tropes that we look for in the 90s. And, it had Rose McGowan and Marilyn Manson in it. So of course I watched it as a teen. But it was just as much fun watching it as an adult. I still enjoyed every minute of this movie. I feel like it holds up. It infuriates you. It makes you laugh. It's a cute story. The absurdity of the of the costumes. I say the costumes, the clothing or whatever that was. I'm like, it was so of the time. But it was so obnoxious. All these chunky heels and skinny skirts and shiny fabrics and terrible hairstyles. It's just like, oh, it was such a time and place. Holy shit. Blech. It was a nice throwback. It was a nice throwback. I loved it still. So then I watched a couple of little series. So I did watch, because of my friends. Sorry, I triggered my Siri on my phone. Because of my friends, Lisa and Dawn, I'm looking at you. I watched My Melody and Kuromi. This is the first time I've ever watched a Sanrio anything. I was pleasantly surprised. Like, number one, I like stop animation. Always had, ever since I was a kid. The claymation, stop animation, all that stuff. I love it. Always have, always will. So I was more down when I found out that this was kind of like a stop animation felty vibe, which was super cute. But like the storyline was really good. Like I thoroughly enjoyed figuring out what was going to happen. It was darker than I expected. It dealt with more like real and raw emotions than I was expecting. I didn't know what to expect, but like I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting something a little more childish, but it held up. I watched it all. So that was pretty good. I did watch that. And on the back of a bubblegum look, I also watched Glitter and Greed, the story of Lisa Frank. So many thoughts. I too grew up in the Lisa Frank Trapper Keeper era. Learning about kind of the back end and how this was going and where this little documentary, so it's a mini series, but it is just kind of like a set documentary, I guess, kind of goes through and talks about the company, how it got started. It talks about Lisa Frank as a person, as a business woman, and then it goes into the company and those problems, the allegations that were there, not only for the company itself, but specifically for, what's his name? It's like James Green or whatever. That was her husband eventually, but he was basically Lisa Frank in all intents and purposes. He crafted it, everything from the logo to the style to all the things. It seems like he had his hand in everything. Not a likable man. Who produced a not a likable son. But also Lisa Frank is not likable either. So everyone around, if you just want to be upset, if you just want to be like, WTF, this is a pretty good, like, I feel like I got the tea. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I got the tea. Listening to these people who worked there, who knew them, and then having the ex-CEO on there and her son on there themselves was very interesting. Definitely an eye-opener. Plus, some independent creators that were pretty much screwed by the Lisa Frank Corporation. Quite interesting. There's some stuff where, I mean, I'm skeptical of certain things, but for the most part, I'm just like, corporate America, this sounds like it tracks. It was a good watch. I felt like I was getting the tea. I really did. Like, even my husband was watching it with me because Jacob loves that kind of TV. Like, he loves anything that's got the drama. So the last thing I watched literally this past weekend, which was Psycho, The Lost Tapes of Ed Gein. Now, this is another little mini series. I think it's like 4 or 5 episodes long. This was good. Okay, so for those of you who don't know who Ed Gein is, some people consider him a serial killer. I don't really think so. I think that's he's a murderer. But a serial killer, I don't know, does 2 a serial killer make? And then, like, I don't know. He's a murderer. I don't know if I'd say a serial killer. I don't know why people lump him into that. I think that's anyway, we're not going to split hairs about that. everybody has their opinion, I'm sure. There's an actual like definition, but whatever. So Ed Gein is basically the boogeyman that everything is based off of. Silence of the Lambs has parts that Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Psycho, obviously, Bates Motel. The list goes on and on. Ed Gein is the boogeyman, right? He made lampshades and furniture out of skin. So anyway, he's terrifying. He's a terrifying guy, but these lost tapes is actually his voice, which is like the first time we get to hear Ed Gein's voice, which is really interesting. And also they showed and talked about quite a few things in this documentary, and showed some of the actual police photos in this that it was quite shocking. I was like, holy crap. I've never seen some of these before. I've seen around the house. I've seen, whatever, but it did show some stuff that I hadn't seen before. And the guys that I listened to, the last podcast on the left, had a little cameos throughout where they talked about Ed Gein and stuff like that, and things that they found. So it was a little bit about his life, but a lot about these tapes. Harold Schechter was in it, which is he's an amazing true crime writer. Harold Schechter was in there as well, so it was really cool to hear his take on it, because he wrote a book about Ed Gein. But anyway, it was interesting. I watched the whole thing. The one criticism I have about it is that it was very repetitive in some areas. Like, I think if they would have smushed this into a single full-length documentary versus breaking it up and like reusing things consistently throughout, like we heard the same parts of the tape over and over and over and over again. And so like that was a little too repetitive for me. I think if they would have made it a single narrative instead of breaking it up into different narratives, I think it would have served as a better documentary, if that makes sense. So there's that. So that's what I've been watching. Last up, what I've been reading. So this is for sure since July, because we did our mid reads. So everything I've read up until now, there are a few things. So let's get to those. Okay. So the first book I read was When the Wolf Comes Home. This is by Nat Cassidy. So we have you're kind of thrust into this story. So we have Kiddo, right? This little kid that our main character, Jess, kind of runs into at the beginning of this book. And it literally creates this snowball of a story. I'm getting distracted by my notes, so I am going to put them back down. So it kind of snowballs into this story of monsters and fear and confusion. It definitely has some fear and anxiety themes, as well as kind of some underlying hard-hitting like parental themes, like parental traumas. It also does really well to kind of hook on to the psyche of a small child, and how sometimes it's the offhanded comments that we make that have such an impact on the people around us that we don't know about or we can't immediately see. And I feel like within this story, it's like almost immediately being able to see the repercussions of the things that we say and think and do and feel. It was quite interesting. And I love Nat Cassidy in general. I've read Mary, I've read Nestlings. This is another one on the top of the list. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Definitely a cool take on kind of like the big bad wolf coming to town. And just like, I don't know, with some cool themes. I would definitely recommend this one. Next, I think it was on Glitter and Gators that we were talking about this, but I read William. So William is by Mason Coyley. William made me uncomfortable. I have not felt that uncomfortable reading a story in years. But William, and I'm not trying to hype this up. This was a personal thing. William rubbed me the wrong way. This story is kind of like, it's like a haunting, haunting possession, but AI robot style. There was like a clear moment where someone was anticipating the appearance of a character. And my husband walked in the room and I literally jumped. I was like, holy cow. Like, it was such a tense moment. Like, I literally jumped. I was like, I have not felt this kind of tension in a hot minute. So William really excited me as a story because it genuinely made me feel uncomfortable. I think it was the descriptions of how this thing moves, what was going on. You really had to figure it out. Like, there were a couple of moments where I was like, I think I know what's happening. And then I was wrong. And then I was like, oh, maybe it's this. And then I was right and wrong. And like, it really kept me guessing. And I really did enjoy the twists and turns that this story took. So I'm not going to super hype it up. It might not do the same for you, but the way that this story was told and the imagery and just the creepiness of like, it's like in the back of your head, you're like, I can see that. Like, it seems valid. Like, it's scary, but it can also maybe happen. Maybe. Oh, it was, I don't know. I don't know. It was good. So I read William. That was a good one. I had a DNF. I tried multiple times to finish John Dies at the End. This is the first book in Josh, how did you say his last name? I'm sure it'll be up here. Pargin. I had read What the Hell Did I Read earlier this year. And so this was the first book in that series. I didn't like it. I really tried. I almost got to the end. Like, I read it and then I couldn't get into it. So I started listening to it and I listened to it. I had maybe an hour left and I was like, I don't care. I don't care. I didn't like it. It was weird, but it wasn't as fun as the other one that I read. And I thought I was going to like it. I didn't. So I read most of that. I just wasted a lot of time trying to push through it. And I was just like, no, I'm done. So that just wasn't for me. I liked the other book, but I think I'm kind of done. I'm kind of done with those. So, c'est la vie. The last ones I have here with me. So, let's wrap up and talk about these bad boys. So, the first one is my obsession right now. The Buffalo Hunter. This is by Stephen Graham Jones. I'm obsessed with this book. I will tell everyone to read this book. I fell in love with it. So much so that I went to the store and bought they had the autographed copy. It was the same price as the other ones. I just want to feel fancy. But I loved this book so much that I wanted one in the flesh. I'm usually a soft cover kind of girly, but I had to have it in my hands because I have started making notes and stuff like that. Like, I had to be like, this is a fiction book. Why are you making notes? I'm like, because the story intrigued me so much. The cadence of the way everyone spoke, this kind of diary style back and forth. We're listening to this preacher, I forget, pastor, preacher, I don't remember, whatever he is, some kind of preacher, and he's being visited by this Indian man who's telling him this fantastic tale. We're in vampire territory. We're in very surreal territory, but also the way that Stephen Graham Jones writes is so descriptive. I feel like I watched this book. Some of the things were so vivid. They just stuck out in my mind so much. I'm like, I want to reread this. There are some things that, they call animals, or the way that he speaks about that were kind of confusing. So I wanted to go back in here and like highlight and make notes so I can I just want to immerse myself in this story over and over and over again right now. And again, this is something that I haven't felt in a really long time. This is kind of one of those things where like I was the initial way that I felt with the Mayfair Witches, where I gobbled up this story. I wanted to know all the history. It was such a vivid, immersive story. I felt the same way with this. The realness, the rawness, the anger that I felt throughout this whole thing in so many different ways. Anger on so many different sides. And there was sense of, I wouldn't say a sense of fear, but a sense of caution and sometimes anticipation, but it was more about like, I just want to know more. I want to listen. I'm going to air quote listen. That's how vivid this was. I want to listen to these characters speak over and over again. I want to hear their story over and over again. I want to hear more from them. I want to know. And the way that this ended was so satisfying to me. Like I cried in a horror vampire novel. I cried at the end. Because there was, oh my God, it was like, oh. I don't know how best to describe this book other than I freaking loved it. I probably loved it more than it needs to be hyped up. But for me, probably one of the best books I've read in years and years. Top of my list. Enough for me to go out the day I finished reading it and buy a copy for myself. I give this one a 5-star. I loved it. I freaking loved it. Anyway, all right. After that, I always take the cover off. I did it so I could show you guys, but I take the cover off because when I read and do stuff, it just bothers the hell out of me. So I just stick it somewhere. Okay, last one's A Botanical Daughter by Noah Medlock. I just finished reading this one. I really loved the setting. There were some points in here that were brutal. I wouldn't call this a horror. It's marked horror. Horror. I feel like the word has no meaning anymore. Sometimes horror is like that. It just feels like the more you say it, the more it doesn't make sense. I don't know if I'd consider it horror. There were some brutal parts of it, but we're in the realm of plants again, obviously. And we're also in the realm of mushrooms. Mycelium, to be exact. So the premise of this book, we have these partners, these gentlemen who live kind of secluded in this greenhouse, glass greenhouse. One is a botanist and the other is a taxidermy specialist. And so there's a cellar to house the taxidermy, and then all the plants are in this wide open thing. there is a discovery of this kind of mushroom, this mycelium, that seems to be sentient or something of the sort, where it's trying to keep things alive and it functions through other plants. And this concept kind of takes on a life of its own through this botanist. And with the help of one of the people that kind of help around the house, her name was Jennifer. She becomes the maid of the house. With the help of her, as well as his partner. So it's Gregor and Simon. Gregor is the botanist. Simon is the taxidermist. And Jennifer, they kind of form this kind of familial bond through this mycelium and creating a moving plant structure. I'll say that. A walking, talking, moving plant structure. So we have Frankenstein vibes, like Frankenstein monster vibes, only in the form of beautiful plant life. And the substrate I won't go into. You have to read the book to see what the substrate is, but I bet you could guess. It was just a pretty good story. It was interesting. I really did enjoy the plant life. I did enjoy those little bits of kind of brutal, gruesome things that happened. But for the most part, I wouldn't consider this horror. It was just a very interesting story. Not so much Little Shop of Horrors vibe, but it does lean in that way. I thought it was interesting. I enjoyed it. Just not scary. Not really what I thought it was going to be. I did enjoy the atmosphere of it, though. So definitely worth checking out if you're just in for a good story that has a couple of kind of parts in it, you know? Definitely enjoyed A Botanical Daughter. And the last thing I got in, boom, my Cajun self-taught. That's by Father Dago. So I got this one in. I've been working with my Louisiana French dictionary, but this Cajun self-taught by Father Dago really does a bunch of good stuff. I also have the audio for this, and I've been playing around with that and having a really good time. Even Lennon's been learning. She's been looking through and trying to pronounce the words and learning how to say, you know, the days of the week and things like that. And she's been really interested in it. So that's been really fun. So I've been diving into this. It's got really good pronunciation keys in it. And the way that it's written is kind of like broken down into sections versus like, I don't know, like like you can go and look about the months and weeks and years. You can go look and see how to count. You can go look and see about common tools, instruments, and materials used in farming, gardening, fishing, hunting. Anyway, so I've been going through this, playing around with this. Avec goût. Dans la maison, you coming in the house. So yeah, anyway, so this has been a really great tool. Been playing around a lot with that. And that's just something that's ongoing, that will continue to be ongoing. So, I mean, I hope you enjoyed. It's been a hot minute. My coffee is cold. But here we are. That's been August. That's what I've been watching. That's what I've been doing. That's what I've been using. That's what I've been reading. So I hope that you guys enjoyed. We will be back very soon. If you're looking for anything, I will try to link the stuff that I talked about below, or like what movies. I'll kind of write them down, or, have everything linked down below if you're interested. And yeah, we will talk very soon. So I'm sending you all my love. Mwah. Later, Gators.